In 21st Century Youth Ministry 5 Views, there's a lot of different ways to actually go about using this book. You could do it in a variety of settings. Either one person could read it by themselves just to try to figure out what is it I believe, maybe take some notes, have a light, informal conversation with friends or coworkers. That is one really obvious way to use this. But I think a much more productive way to use this is for a classroom, a youth ministry team, maybe what I call a vast team, a vision and support group that every church ought to have one around their youth ministry, or for denominational leaders, and maybe even professors of youth ministry in a college. These different groupings of people could gather together around this book, and the best way to actually get at it, I think, is to read a view without reading the rejoinders. As a group, then talk about your impression. What would you say in your own response to it? Talk about that as a group. Then step back and read the 4 different responses and interact with those 4 responses with your view. And for a classroom setting, as I'm a professor at Fuller, but wherever you are, college or seminary, a great thing to do in a class is to take a class session for an hour and have students come in ready to argue for that view or against that view, and then to go back and look what others said. So you really get a flavor for each view. Then, once you've gone through the process of dissecting those, construct your own view of youth ministry, taking bits and pieces of what you learned from this conversation. Then, so you can get on the same page, whatever community that you're involved with. Maybe you wouldn't fully agree to try to combine the D6 method, for example, with adoptive youth ministry. So take a look at what these views could be for you, and if you hit them one at a time, and really dissect what's going on there and try to understand fully what the author's saying, and then arguing with that from your own perspective as a community, whether it's a class or denominational leaders or a church, then at the end of that, maybe you synthesize these various views to come up with what you believe God is calling you to in order to do the ministry that He's given to you. And I have to say to you, foundationally, that no matter what, make sure you're connecting kids to the body of Christ. That's the bottom line of all of these views, is that they know that this is truly their family in Jesus Christ.